Hey guys, this is Mike from Deepwood Force of Will coming at you all with another Force of Will video. This one was kind of unexpected to be put out so quickly, but we just got the ban list update for June 1st. I am so excited to be talking about this. This is something that's been definitely a ways away, definitely something that everybody's been looking forward to, and we had a lot of things that were expected, but then some things that were not expected, so I'm really excited to be talking about them, so let's just jump right into it. First, of course, the New Frontiers, they're talking about how Scheherazade was absolutely dominating. You could see almost a 70% top rate over the course of March 9th to May 28th. That's a crazy amount of tops. That's almost as much as Reflect was showcasing, so definitely good to see them addressing that. Yada, yada, yada. First one on the list, everybody kind of knew this was coming. Story listener Eva is officially banned in New Frontiers. That's a huge deal. 2 will for 5/5 that gains stats based on the number of cards revealed in your extra deck is insane when you're just turbing through it. A lot of the time you had a turn 2 or turn 3 Eva at 1,000 attack, 1,000 defense. That's absolutely absurd, and was kind of something they didn't anticipate. If you remember in the Scheherazade video that we put out, I mentioned that I thought Scheherazade was more designed as like a control ruler that kind of closed out games with dolls, and literally that's exactly the words that they used here, so glad to see the our video definitely was taking notice, and at least we called something right there. So having Eva banned in New Frontiers is fantastic. It means that Scheherazade will definitely play a way more control-oriented game, more of a value-oriented game than just straight-up tempo, which is great. And have no fear, Sherry players, you still have your Patrol and Guard dolls. Those things are still fantastic. Next up, the Big Daddy itself, Rune Story. Oh, this card has caused so much headache, so much heartache when playing against Scheherazade. Infinite loops with this thing in the extra deck are insane. The amount of just easy, free removal it had. Non-targeting banish removal with no cost is amazing. Well, you know, no cost outside of the mana cost. Being able to bring things back, having a pseudo Wall of Wind. Rune Story just did way too much and was way too versatile in Scheherazade. So, very glad to see that gone from here. Yeah, it's just way too powerful of a card. Never much else to say. If you haven't read what Rune Story does, now's your chance to read it before it goes away forever in New Frontiers. So there's that. Evil Ginny being banned is kind of interesting. Obviously, I think this card gets significantly worse with the other two hits, but at the same time, having something that can get to Legend 5 really quickly and just has all these effects built into it is absolutely insane. Evil Ginny was one of the cards that people were regarded as kind of weak in Scheherazade, but at the same time also represented a lot of damage options they had, a lot of extra removal, hand advantage, just did a ton of stuff. And the fact that it was 3 separate effects means that you had to pick and choose your Lorite battles too, which was awful. So, don't know if this was super warranted. I think this card's really powerful, but not that powerful. But at the same time, it's good to see them really keeping an eye on the cards that are causing the most pressure points among players. So, definitely a decent hit here. And now on to the big one that everyone's been talking about. Oh my god, Trueblade got banned. This is definitely really, really huge for the game. Trueblade was a card that made a lot of 1 and 2 drop resonators completely unplayable. Tempo game where you start off with like the curve into 1 to 2 drop to 3 drop was a thing of the past because Trueblade just was so efficient at clearing everything. Having Remnant was way, way too good. So having this card banned is, first of all, a good thing for those tempo-based decks that are trying to curve out some resonators and try and kill your opponent from there. But it also is kind of a big deal because that means that Sacred Elf might actually start seeing play again. And Sacred Elf seeing play and being able to ramp up into other things. I personally like it because I love ramping up into big threats and going for big kills, you know, from the IMO deck that I piloted a long time ago, but Trueblade being what it is and being such an effective tool against Sacred Elf, definitely something that we're going to have to look out for in the coming format. So definitely looking forward to see what Forceful looks like without this card, and looking forward to see what kind of decks get spawned from it, as well as these other hits to Scheherazade. And that is it from New Frontiers. Pretty much a similar copy to the Italian Rhea cluster exclusive ban list. Definitely interesting to see that. I think they had do they have Lorite instead of Evil Ginny? I don't remember exactly. That's the EU exclusive ban list. But having all these cards banned in New Frontiers with the amount of usage they have and the amount of oppression they caused is definitely a really good thing for the game, and I'm excited to see what spawns from it. Now on to the next. As you know, we've been playing a lot of Wanderer format with the Deep Forceville crew. We've really enjoyed the format, and there are some really, really weird hits on this list, and some of them I'm questioning, but at the same time, some of them I'm very interested in. So, the first one was that Scheherazade herself actually got banned in New Frontiers. Oh my goodness. This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. So Scheherazade being banned in New Frontiers is a big deal, not New Frontiers, in Wanderer, is a big deal because a lot of the players that were using Scheherazade during the GP Providence that we attended, I also heard that in Europe, a lot of players were actually foregoing the the tempo-based variant and the infinite combo-based variant in favor of just using Scheherazade as sort of like a consistency tool, kind of like the way that Reflect Refrain was back in the day, where you just put a bunch of good stuff together, use the Scheherazade, and then just start rolling out big threats as you went along your combos. Scheherazade did that really, really well with cards such as, Rune Story, excuse me, extra draws from Approaching the Truth. There was a lot that was going on with that deck, so she was kind of just a shell for any good mechanic used in Wanderer, and seeing her banned is really interesting just because, obviously, you can't play her anymore. We might see a divergence in the Wanderer meta, and that'd be really, really interesting. And, of course, all of her dolls and all of her spells and her stories are all still usable in sideboards and everything. The dolls get significantly worse without her there, but honestly, you can still play the dolls in New Frontiers. That's not a problem. So having her banned in Wanderer but still a viable threat in New Frontiers is really interesting, and just goes to show that they're really trying to separate Wanderer and New Frontiers as competitive formats. On to the next one, we have... oh my god, excuse me. Otherworld Dreams. This was one of the biggest surprises in my mind, actually. Obviously, Severing Winds is banned in Wanderer. With that being said, normally this card doesn't see as much play without Severing Winds. Like, obviously it was completely oppressive with Severing Winds, but I've seen a lot of decks, but it wasn't exactly like a bannable offense in my mind. But at the same time, I guess Forceful's really trying to cut down on those 1-mana cancels, which has definitely been a problem in the game for a while. Otherworld Dreams is obviously a very, very powerful card. But the fact that it got banned is crazy in my mind. It's going to be really interesting to see. A lot of people are probably going to start going back to Wall of Wind if they want to cancel things. Maybe even going back to stuff like Zeke's and Absolute Cake Zone, Keen Sense, all the 2-mana cancels. Definitely takes up a different part of the metagame, but at the same time, seeing this is very interesting. So, definitely going to be interesting to see how this goes going later into the formats. The other big surprise is that Faerur spell got banned, and this was huge. Faerur spell has been a card that's seen a ton, like an absolute ton of usage, but is so... oh my god. So unbelievably specific that I didn't think it would ever see a banning. It's just a very... like, obviously it's a 1-mana cancel, but at the same time, it's such a specific cancel, and it's normally used to counter cancels and damage spells that are being used, cancels Melfi's, but with all that being said, this thing being banned means that we'll see some very powerful quick cast spells being put back into the game. There's so many options that can be made now that you're not facing the Faerur spell cancel war after cancel war after cancel war. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Wind is taking a huge hit right now. This is a lot of really, really potent threats that the Wind attributes had for a long time, and having these things banned is absolutely crazy in my mind. Obviously, I'll still be playing this card a ton in New Frontiers. It's still incredibly powerful there, especially while Severing Winds is still in that format. Surprised that actually didn't get a ban, but we'll go about that later. But, yeah, this is definitely a huge step in the right direction for trying to prevent green-on-green cancel wars and trying to bring other cards back up to life. So that's going to be very interesting to see come future Wanderer tournaments. It definitely shows that the Force of Will Co. is absolutely showing a lot of support for the Wanderer format's health, which is amazing to me because I know a lot of players that I've been talking to lately have been really interested in Wanderer format, and I am more than happy to be playing that format. I absolutely adore Wanderer right now. Moving on from there, True Blade got banned in Wanderer. Literally, it just says see above. That's all you really need to know. Same exact principles happened with the True Blade and Wanderer, and with Wanderer having such a diverse and large card pool, having a card that just answered anything remotely fun is crazy. One of the biggest purveyors of aggressive decks, being Keurig, actually was completely immune to True Blade in most regards because once you play the Ruck Egg before you play your Thuga, you actually maintain priority. There's no point before you sack the egg for Thuga, for your opponent to True Blade that egg away. So, True Blade being able to not hit the most powerful tempo aggressive deck, but still shutting out any fun decks that wanted to actually see some play, was a huge bane for that format. So seeing this thing banned in Wanderer, I am absolutely 100% okay with. And then the big one herself, Morgiana the Wise Servant got unbanned. So, very, very excited for this. Morgiana was a card that obviously was incredibly powerful when she was first used in the Reflective Rain, Alice's World deck, having changed the world, and Guinevere both mentioned on here, just having so much extra advantage to pull up was absolutely powerful. But with Pumpkin Witch banned, with all like the really, really powerful draw cards for the Reflect archetypes to be banned, Morgiana is basically just a 3/3 that occasionally will give you an extra 3 draw, an extra, cycle 3 off the top of your deck and find one. And I think it's going to be really healthy for the game. I actually think Morgiana is a very well-designed card that unfortunately took the brunt of the hits from other unfair cards that it was printed and used alongside. So seeing this thing come back is really, really awesome. I'm very excited to see this. So, yeah, thank you, Force of Will Co. for bringing this back. We're actually just starting to get more Grim Cluster stuff for the Deepwood crew, and being able to play with Morgiana again is fantastic. And it's going to feel fantastic. And then, last but not least, Origins format. Nothing huge here, just the limiting of Planting Beans. There's a lot of Reanimator stuff in Origins, so Planting Beans is just fantastic. So being able to just kind of limit the consistency of those kind of decks is probably a good thing in the future. I'm very happy with Forceful actually addressing Origins format, which is very, very interesting. I, of course, has never played, being from North America, but knowing that they're taking a look at that is great. So, in closing, they're just saying that they just keep trying to make sure that single rulers are given too much power, trying to create a balanced metagame, being able to experiment with unknown and unexpected combinations. The R&D team is definitely showing a lot of... what's the word I'm looking for? Why am I forgetting that word? A lot of hindsight, I guess, on some of their older choices in card design, giving too much power to wind, definitely, because I think every single card on this list was a wind card. Yes, indeed. Even I can't Rune Story too, because it's wind and darkness, but it's a wind card. we all know that. So Rune Story being banned here, obviously it's great. These are all really fantastic hits, and I'm very happy with this. So let me know what you guys all think in the comment section. Do you think most of these hits were warranted? Are there any that really surprised you as well? Because the Otherworld Dreams and Faerur spell bans definitely threw me for a loop for a second. But I think they'll have a really nice effect on Wanderer as a more fun yet competitive format compared to New Frontier. So looking forward to that. Thank you all for watching again, and this has been Mike from Deepwood Force of Will, signing out.